Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Mark Prater here in the CBS 42 Weather Center. Just want to give you a quick update on what's going on with the weather, and we are not dealing with any severe weather in our area at this point, which is good, but the potential for a few strong, possibly severe storms moving into West Alabama certainly not out of the question as we get into later tonight. First off, let's talk about the radar. This is what's going on out to our west. There are a number of severe thunderstorm warnings right along that squall line, so this is just a precautionary for winds that are gusty. And then back into Louisiana, there is a tornado warning, which is in effect. But the whole central and southern portion of Mississippi is now under a tornado watch, and that is likely to stay to the south and west of most of our viewing area. We'll watch it carefully, but it does run up to near Pickens County and southward. So roughly from I-20 southward is where we'll see the best potential for any storms becoming strong, or at least producing tornadoes in that region. But for now, let's go in a little bit closer and give you an idea of what's going on across our area. Hamilton, you're getting a lot of rain. Winfield, Fayette, back into Double Springs and Arley. Most of this is pretty light, a lot of it not reaching the ground. But if you notice out to the west, we have all of that heavy rain, and that is reaching the ground. That on top of a wind advisory, which we have in effect until 9 o'clock tonight, that is something that we need to keep an eye on, because with a storm system like this, we've had it before, where the winds ahead of the main storm line are actually upwards of 25 to 35 miles per hour. You take that wind speed and that energy that's already moving across with the wind or the actual air moving that fast, then you incorporate thunderstorms with that. So it's easy to see why we could have a few thunderstorms produce winds in excess of 60 to 70 miles per hour. Again, this is not a big severe weather threat for tonight, but the potential for our western counties certainly not out of the question. And then again, for tomorrow, that's likely to be a day we need to watch a little closer, because of the fact we will be set up in a very tropical environment across our viewing area. There is another area of low pressure that will be passing through the nation, and that will help to bring a second cold front into Alabama. So this first wave will be over with late tonight into early tomorrow, and then by tomorrow night we'll have another cold front swinging through, and the jet stream will jump in this time. That's what's going to help to increase our coverage as far as thunderstorms. Now, I do want to, I would love to be able to give every location a timing, but just to give you an idea of what we're looking at as far as timing when these storms will be passing through our neck of the woods. Well, we're now looking at it moving into the state line. So looking at about roughly, let's say they're moving at about 50 miles per hour. We'll see places like Hamilton, Ewan, Fayette within the next hour to hour and a half. Well, let's keep in mind, you'll get the rain first. That's the rain shield that I have timed out. But whenever we take the actual track and put it on the storms, well, it's going to take a while before it gets into Alabama. That main line will likely affect Marion, Lamar, and Pickens counties within the next hour and a half. Now, Birmingham will likely see it roughly at about 7 to 9 o'clock. The I-65 corridor up and down. And with it being a vertical line, it obviously will push into our eastern counties through later tonight, through our 10 o'clock newscast, and into the early afternoon. So, with that being said, any questions out there?
Yeah, just a couple things. A lot of people are asking, especially with the mention of there being tornado watches in some of the other states, is there a possibility of a tornado threat coming into our state?
That's a great question. And at this juncture, I'm saying no. A lot of times, you really need the jet stream to be incorporated to get a decent shot of at least some tornadoes. That being said, you never rule it out, especially with a spin-up tornado along a squall line. And that's what we have right here, is we have a squall line, but then you'll get a little section of the storm which will become start to rotate, and that's where we have tornadoes that spin up very quickly. EF0s, EF1s, sometimes EF2s, but for the most part, it's usually just winds with a squall line. Tomorrow night, I think might have a little bit more of an argument that we could see a few isolated tornadoes in our area. So as this moves in, the atmosphere here locally is not really supporting a severe weather threat. Don't want to rule it out for our western counties, but certainly tomorrow the atmosphere will be a little more unsettled, and that will support the thunderstorms.
Two other questions kind of go along with that. Carrie had asked about straight line wind possibility out of this, and Brian had just mentioned, is there a threat of hail?
Yeah, there's always that threat of hail because the air is colder up high. So we've got about a ½ inch to an inch, not large hail, but certainly the potential is there. Once you get to an inch, then obviously we're at a severe criteria. But straight line winds, they can be just as damaging as a small tornado. So take that and keep that in mind, especially if you have a severe thunderstorm warning. That doesn't mean you can't get damage, and storms can't drop a lot of energy, and that's what really causes our winds.
Just real quick, this is my curiosity on this, because we are in a drought right now.
Sea bass moment.
It's a sea bass moment. Since we're in a drought right now, what kind of, like, with this storm coming in, how does that would that be a huge effect on our drought conditions? And it'll probably produce a few inches, but I imagine with us still being in stage 4.
Oh yeah, that's something that we've talked about. A great question, because a lot of people are thinking, well, this is going to knock it out. It's going to take time before we knock out our drought. This will obviously be a great step in the right direction, the first go around of a solid rain that we have for our area wide. So we will get 1.5 inches, maybe upwards of 2 inches out of this system as it passes through, and then tomorrow about another inch to tack on top of that. So we're looking at about 3 inches around Jefferson, Shelby counties, and right through our viewing area. That's the potential. And when we have that much rain, you really want it to fall gradually and not all at once, because the ground just can't absorb it. So we'll watch for that. I think that out ahead of it, the atmosphere is getting moistened up. We'll see a good solid rain, some gusty winds obviously with it, but this is what we need. We need rain in any sort or matter, but we really will take anything we can get at this point.
It's funny, as you mentioned, the idea of the ground not really being able to support this. We got a question from Jake saying, with the dryness of the ground, would flash floods be a stronger possibility? Because even with like the less amount of rain, just the fact that the ground is that dry.
Yeah, Jake, that's a great question, and that's something that I've been mentioning also. Is I do worry about that. We get 2 to 3 inches, and the ground is just absolutely, pancaked hard. So it takes time for it to moisten and for that moisture to drop down into the lower levels, several inches below. So, yeah, that's always a possibility, and we'll watch that very carefully. I think flash flooding at this juncture across the northern portion of Mississippi is the biggest concern. And then obviously, as it shifts over into northwest Alabama, we'll see if that does include any of our region. Again, this is timing, and it's also if our atmosphere can hold enough water to produce that much rain. But yes, that's always a concern, because if it can't get absorbed, it's got to go somewhere. And I certainly am seeing a pretty healthy line moving into central Mississippi. So anywhere from Pickens County southward down to Sumter, Lamar, we're looking at a healthy line moving in within the next hour and 15. So we'll keep that in mind along with you as well. And let me do a measurement tool here. I wanted to see how far we're looking at, and I'm going to clear off that storm track. So just figure this line is moving about 50 miles per hour. Let's just guesstimate that. We're looking at it moving. It's probably at this angle. If it continues, and it is at 50 miles per hour, then we will see it in the Coleman area through Jasper back into Tuscaloosa within 6:30, 7 o'clock time frame. For those of you, it's in Hamilton. We're looking at roughly about an hour and a half. So I think my timing on that's pretty close, especially for the lower portion of the storm for Pickens County. So that gives you an idea on timing and when you'll be dealing with this line of storms. But this one passes through, and then tomorrow we become unsettled again and rotate another low pressure, and that, of course, means potential for stronger to severe thunderstorms in our area. We're going to update you often on WIAT.com, and we want to thank all of you for joining us, and we will have more at 5, 6, and 10. I'm going to be out on the deck, on 42. This is the first time that we've had the deck that it's actually rained. So I will be out there live in the rain and giving you an update, along with meteorologist Nate Harrington. He'll be joining me for some team coverage as well. So stay with us right here, as well as on CBS 42 and WIAT.com.